I never expected a torn shipping box to change my life. It was just another delivery, one of dozens my wife ordered every month. Groceries, cosmetics, clothes, nothing I ever paid attention to. But this time, something caught my eye. A brand name, a scent I couldn't forget. This is the story of how I discovered my wife's affair, not through texts or rumors. I wasn't looking for anything. That's the truth. No suspicions, no gut feeling, no reason to be on edge. It was just a regular weekday afternoon, quiet house, cup of coffee in hand, and a stack of Amazon boxes by the front door. Nothing unusual for our place. Megan orders things online constantly. It's kind of her hobby. One day it's groceries. The next day skincare or some new gadget for the kitchen we don't really need. I don't ask questions anymore. I just bring the boxes in, drop them on the kitchen island, and let her sort through them when she gets home. That day, there were 3 of them. One soft and light, probably clothes. One heavy and bulky, probably a Costco pantry restock. And one that caught my eye for no real reason. Maybe because it looked a little different. It had a small tear near the corner, like the tape had been pulled too hard or the box had been dented in transit. I wouldn't have thought twice, but the tear was just enough to show what was inside. Through that little rip, I saw part of a black box. Sleek, matte finish. And on it, in silver letters, part of a logo, VRM. That's all. Just 5 letters. But it stuck with me. I didn't open the box. Didn't press on it or peel it back. I just stared at it for a few seconds, then set it on the counter with the rest, and went about my day. But even as I moved through the house, wiping down the sink, answering emails, feeding the dog, that little slice of silver on black stayed in my head, poking at something in my memory. VRM. It meant something. I knew it did, but I couldn't place it. The rest of the afternoon passed like any other. Megan came home around 6, still in her office clothes, gray slacks, cardigan, hair in a clip. She looked tired, but cheerful enough. She walked in, kissed me on the cheek, and noticed the boxes right away. Oh, great. My deliveries came. Yeah, I said. I brought them in. She walked over, scanned the labels, and started stacking them in her arms. Get anything fun? I asked, trying to sound casual. She smiled, but didn't look up. Just some skincare stuff. Moisturizer, vitamin C serum. Nothing more. No hesitation. No pause. Just that simple explanation, offered easily, like it had been rehearsed. I nodded slowly, then watched her carry the boxes upstairs like it was any other day. But something in me paused. I didn't question her. Didn't follow her upstairs or ask to see what was inside. That would have felt ridiculous. But I also didn't forget about that torn corner. That logo, VRM. It nagged at me the way a word gets stuck on the tip of your tongue. I didn't think she was hiding anything. We've been married almost 10 years. We share a home, a mortgage, a golden retriever, and a rhythm to our days that feels as familiar as breathing. But even with all that, the feeling crept in. Later that night, after she'd gone to bed early claiming a headache, I found myself back in the kitchen, dumping the trash. The box, the one with the tear, had already been broken down and tossed. I noticed it folded under the others, the tape peeled away, the torn corner now lying flat. The label was gone. No clue what had been inside. I stared at the empty cardboard for a long minute, then closed the bin. Back upstairs, Megan was already asleep, or pretending to be. Her phone was face down on the nightstand, charging. The room smelled like her, like coconut lotion and clean laundry. I stood there in the doorway for a while, watching her breathe. She looked peaceful, normal, familiar. I told myself it was nothing. A random tear in a box. A coincidence. But even as I lay down beside her, I couldn't stop wondering why that brand name had stuck in my head. VRM. What was it? Somewhere, deep in my mind, I already knew. I just wasn't ready to remember. Not yet. The next morning started off normal. Megan had already left for work by the time I got up, and I had a work-from-home day lined up with a full schedule of client calls. But even as I sat through meetings and answered emails, my mind kept circling back to that word, VRM. It buzzed in my head like a mosquito you can't see but can't stop hearing. I tried to ignore it. I really did. But somewhere around 10, while sipping my second cup of coffee and half listening to a meeting that could have been an email, it hit me. Vermano. That was the brand. Vermanoum. I knew it because I'd seen it before, at Nordstrom, maybe a year or 2 back. It was a cologne. A men's cologne. The kind they keep behind the glass case with the little spotlights on it. Expensive stuff. Sharp bottle. Rich black label with a gold crest. Sleek. Classy. Definitely not anything I used. I'm more of a drugstore deodorant guy, to be honest. That's what made it stick out. Why would Megan be ordering men's cologne? For me? Maybe. That thought came first. But she hadn't mentioned anything, and I hadn't said I wanted one. It wasn't my birthday, not our anniversary. Father's Day was months away, and she's never been big on surprises, not that kind, anyway. Still, I wanted to believe it. I wanted that to be the answer. So when my next meeting got canceled, I went upstairs. Her side of the closet was always a bit of a mystery to me, shelves of serums, creams, perfumes, little jars and tubes I didn't understand. But I knew she had a drawer for unopened stuff, still in packaging. I found it halfway down the hallway linen cabinet, second drawer from the top. And there it was, still in the box, unopened. Vermanoum, sleek, black and gold, sealed in cellophane, exactly like I remembered. I stood there staring at it for longer than I probably should have. My heart wasn't pounding, but there was this weird stillness in my chest, like my body was trying to decide how it felt. Was this innocent? Was I overthinking? I closed the drawer carefully, didn't touch the bottle, didn't even shift anything else. That night, Megan got home later than usual, said traffic was bad. She dropped her purse by the door, kicked off her shoes, and walked straight to the fridge. I figured this was my moment. I saw one of the boxes was kind of torn yesterday, I said casually. Just wanted to make sure nothing was damaged. She paused, a yogurt in her hand. Nope, all good. Just some skincare and vitamins. I waited. Nothing more. No mention of anything else. No hesitation. No, oh, and nothing. I leaned on the counter and sipped my water. You order anything for anyone else? Like a gift or something? She shook her head, already peeling the foil off her yogurt. Nope. Why? I shrugged. Just seemed like a lot of boxes. She smiled, but her eyes didn't match. I might have gone a little overboard. That sale on Dr. Chin stuff was ridiculous. I laughed. Yeah, I noticed the pile, but inside, something tightened. She didn't lie outright, not in a dramatic way, but it was a lie all the same. She knew what I was asking, and she was steering the conversation away from it with practiced ease. The kind of ease that comes from experience. We ate dinner in front of the TV that night, half watching a crime show we used to love. She laughed at the same places she always did, commented on the characters, asked if I wanted popcorn. Everything seemed fine on the surface, but I wasn't listening anymore. I kept thinking about that cologne, about the way she said, just skincare, about how fast she answered, and about how she didn't ask a single question back. That was the moment it changed, not because I had proof, not yet, but because I knew something was off, not loud, not dramatic, just off. And once you notice that kind of silence in someone you trust, you can't unhear it. A few days passed. I kept telling myself to drop it, to stop thinking about that cologne. Maybe it was a gift. Maybe she really did forget to mention it. People do that. They get distracted. It didn't mean anything, right? But every time I looked at Megan, I couldn't unhear the way she'd said, just skincare. I couldn't unsee the way she didn't blink before moving on. It stuck with me, like a bad dream you can't shake even after coffee and sunshine. That Friday, I had to swing by the mall to return a shirt that didn't fit. I wasn't planning to do anything else. Just in, out, get back to work. But as I passed the fragrance counter at Nordstrom, I stopped, just stood there for a second, staring at the glass case. There it was. Vermanoum. Same bottle I saw in the drawer. Same clean black box with gold lettering. I wasn't even sure why I walked up to the counter, but my feet moved before my brain decided. A young guy behind the counter, probably still in college, looked up from his phone. Need help, sir? I nodded. Just browsing. Mind if I smell this one? He perked up, clearly glad to do something. He pulled the bottle out, gave it a gentle spray on one of those little white cards, and handed it to me. The scent hit instantly. Clean, smooth, woodsy, and warm. Sophisticated, but bold. It was the kind of scent that lingered, not loud, but memorable. I brought the card closer again, just to make sure. There was no mistake. It was the same one I'd caught in the box. The same one that stuck in my head all week. It wasn't some vague familiarity. I knew this scent now. Knew it in my bones. You don't forget a smell like that, especially not once it's tied to suspicion. I slipped the card into my jacket pocket and left the store. All the way home, I kept thinking, turning it over and over. If she'd bought this for me, why hide it? Why not just give it to me? She'd never been shy about gifts before. Birthdays, Christmas, she loved planning surprises, making things special. But this felt like something she was trying not to mention. Like something she wanted to stay hidden. I didn't say anything to her that night. We had dinner, watched TV. She told me about a difficult client and laughed at something on her phone. But I wasn't really listening. All I could think about was the scent in my pocket. Later, while she showered, I pulled the card out again and smelled it. Still there, strong as ever. I found myself walking through the house, imagining where that smell might show up. On a coat? A car seat? On someone else's skin? I checked her coat closet the next morning while she was out doing errands. Nothing. Nothing obvious, anyway. I I wasn't about to start sniffing sleeves like some kind of lunatic, but my brain was spiraling, whether I wanted it to or not. Sunday afternoon, she mentioned she had a meditation circle that evening. It's just an hour, she said. We're doing guided breath work. I nodded. Sounds nice. You should come sometime, she added, grabbing her yoga mat. Maybe, I said. But inside, something was twisting tight. Megan didn't meditate. She'd never once shown interest in any of that. Not until a few months ago. Suddenly she had meetings, circles, sound baths, a whole new language. And now, Cologne. That night, I waited until she left, gave her a good 10 minutes head start. Then I grabbed my keys, got in the car, and followed. I wasn't proud of it, but I wasn't about to sit in the dark wondering anymore. I kept my distance, stayed a few cars back. She drove past the yoga studio she'd mentioned before, turned into a hotel parking lot instead. My hands clenched the wheel. I didn't get out. Not yet. Just watched from across the street as she walked inside, her mat still in the trunk. She wasn't dressed for meditation, either. She was wearing that black blouse she saves for special dinners, heels, too. I sat there in silence, the scent of Vermano still faint on the card in my jacket pocket. It wasn't a coincidence. And for the first time, I let myself believe what I didn't want to admit. Something was really, truly wrong. I hadn't planned on going by her office. It just worked out that way. My own client meeting had wrapped up early. Her building was only 10 minutes from mine, and I figured, why not swing by with lunch? Something small. Just a sandwich, maybe her favorite smoothie from that place she liked. Harmless, thoughtful, ordinary. That's what I told myself as I turned into the parking lot. The receptionist smiled when I came in. Oh, hi, Mr. Carver. Megan's outside on the balcony with someone from the finance team. I thanked her, kept the bag in my hand, and made my way through the office, big windows, muted tones, the hum of keyboards, and light chatter. I'd been here a few times. Company parties, holiday potlucks. Everyone was always friendly, familiar. That's what made what I saw next hit harder. Through the glass doors, I spotted her leaning on the railing. Her posture was relaxed, her head tilted slightly. She was laughing, not the polite kind you give a coworker out of courtesy, but real laughter, comfortable, intimate. And standing next to her, too close, was a man I didn't recognize. Taller than me, trim beard, rolled sleeves, confident posture. He was smiling too, leaning in just enough to say something that made her laugh again. They hadn't seen me yet. I stepped outside like I belonged there. Calm, casual. Megan turned first. Her smile froze, only for half a second, but I saw it. Her body shifted just slightly, like someone who'd been caught standing a little too close to something hot. Hey, I said, like it was nothing. Brought you lunch. Oh, she said quickly. That's sweet. This is Travis. He's in accounting. Travis turned toward me and extended his hand. Nice to meet you. We shook. His grip was firm, confident, like a man used to getting what he wanted. And that's when it hit me. The smell. Not strong, but clear, clean, sharp, woodsy, familiar. It was the cologne. Vermano, the same one from the box. The same one from the department store. The same one I'd carried around on a sample strip for days, unable to forget. I looked at him and smiled, though I'm not sure it reached my eyes. Nice cologne, I said, like I was just making small talk. He grinned. Thanks. Got it as a gift. He nudged Megan slightly with his elbow, just enough to make it feel personal. From someone special. Megan's face tensed, just slightly. Her mouth didn't move, but her eyes flicked toward me and then quickly away. The silence that followed lasted maybe 2 seconds, but it felt like a full minute. Well, I said, lifting the bag in my hand. Didn't mean to interrupt. Brought your usual turkey pesto and a green apple smoothie. Thanks, Megan said, a little too quickly. She stepped forward to take the bag, brushing past Travis. Nice meeting you, he said, still smiling. Yeah, I said. You too. I walked back through the office with slow, even steps. Didn't rush, didn't look back. By the time I reached my car, my chest was tight with a kind of rage I didn't even know how to name. Not the explosive kind. This was something colder. Still, like a storm waiting for permission. There was no more doubt, no more maybes. That scent had tied it all together. It was the proof I hadn't wanted but now couldn't ignore. And the way she looked at me, that brief flicker of panic when she realized I'd heard him say it. It said everything. She'd bought him the cologne. She'd lied about what was in the box. She was smiling at him the way she used to smile at me. I didn't go home right away. Drove around for a while, let the city blur by while the pieces rearranged themselves in my head. 10 years of marriage, shared bills, quiet mornings. All of it crashing against that one smell, the truth wrapped in a fragrance. When I finally pulled into our driveway an hour later, I sat there with the engine running, staring at the front door. I didn't say anything that night. Not yet. I needed to be sure. Because if I was right, and now I knew I was, the next step wouldn't be a conversation. It would be the beginning of the end. That night, I waited until after dinner to bring it up. Megan was rinsing dishes at the sink, sleeves rolled up, humming some tune from the radio that played in the background. I was drying plates, like always. Same routine, same kitchen, but everything between us had shifted, and only one of us knew it. You seemed surprised when I showed up at your office today, I said casually, not looking directly at her. She paused for just a second, just long enough to register, then kept scrubbing. Yeah, I just wasn't expecting you. Nice surprise, though. You and Travis looked like you were having a good conversation. There it was. The name. She dried her hands slowly. He's funny. Kind of a goofball, honestly. Keeps things light at the office. I nodded. Seemed close. She turned around, eyebrows lifted in mock surprise. Are you jealous? She said it with a smirk, but there was a thinness in her voice, like she was already building a wall behind the words. I chuckled lightly. I'm not the jealous type. Could have fooled me, she teased, leaning back on the counter. You looked like you were sizing him up. I shrugged. He seemed comfortable with you, like you've known each other a while. She waved a hand. We've worked on a couple of projects together. That's all. You're reading into things. I set the last plate on the drying rack and folded the towel. He said his cologne was a gift. That made her blink. Just once. Barely noticeable. But it was there. Yeah, she said, turning toward the fridge. Well, good for him. People give gifts all the time. I let the silence hang between us. Just for a moment. Then I nodded again. Yeah, I guess they do. She pulled out a bottle of water, took a long sip, then forced a smile. Are we seriously having this conversation? What conversation? This. She gestured with one hand, still holding the bottle in the other. Weird little detective routine. What is this? Some midlife suspicion thing. I laughed, but it didn't feel real. No routine. Just talking. She walked past me into the living room, dropping onto the couch with a sigh. God, you really are being weird. I stayed in the kitchen, leaning on the counter, watching her through the doorway. She was scrolling through her phone now, legs tucked under her. Like nothing had happened. Like everything was normal. But it wasn't. I knew what I'd smelled. I knew how her body reacted when Travis called her his someone special. And now, her defense wasn't even angry. It was dismissive, smug. That told me something. She wasn't scared of being caught. Not yet. She didn't think I had anything real. And that meant she thought she still had the upper hand. That was her mistake. I walked into the living room and sat down beside her. She didn't look up from her phone, just leaned her head on my shoulder like she used to, like we were still us. And for a moment, I let her. I sat there in silence, letting her breathe against me, scrolling through whatever feed was in front of her. I didn't ask any more questions. I didn't bring up Travis again. I didn't mention the hotel parking lot or the blouse she wore or the cologne in my jacket pocket, because now I understood something. She was lying to me, but not just lying. She was confident in the lie, comfortable, practiced. That meant this wasn't new. This had been going on long enough for her to feel safe. I needed to stop playing catch-up. I needed to get ahead of it. That night, after she fell asleep, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the fan, the occasional bark of a dog outside, the rustle of sheets as she turned over beside me. I didn't feel rage. Not yet. What I felt was colder, sharper, a kind of focus I hadn't felt in years. I had work to do. It was a Thursday night when she said it. I'm heading to meditation around 7, Megan said, grabbing her keys from the bowl by the door. Shouldn't be too late. I looked up from my laptop, pretending to be distracted. Same group as last week? Yeah. Different instructor tonight, though. They're doing breath work and some light visualization stuff. I nodded like I believed every word. She kissed the top of my head, a casual, practiced gesture, and was out the door before I could even respond. As soon as I heard her car pull away, I closed my laptop, grabbed my coat, and followed. I'd never done anything like that before. Never tracked anyone. Never thought I'd need to. But something inside me had shifted. I was past suspicion now, past wondering. I just needed to see it, with my own eyes. Not to start a fight, not to scream, but to confirm what I already knew. I gave her a few minutes head start, then eased out of the driveway, staying 3 or 4 cars behind. Thankfully, the roads weren't busy. She didn't notice me. She wasn't looking for me. She didn't think she had to. She drove right past the yoga studio she'd named in the past. No hesitation, no glance toward it. Just past it like it didn't exist. That's when my heart rate started to climb. A few more turns. Then she pulled into the parking lot of a downtown hotel, not a fancy one, but nice enough, discreet, neutral. I parked across the street, lights off, engine running low. She got out of the car, not in leggings or a hoodie like someone going to sit on a mat. She was dressed up, black blouse, heels, hairstyled in waves I hadn't seen her wear in weeks. I watched her walk toward the front doors like she'd done it before. She didn't look around, didn't pause, just walked in. I waited, 15 minutes passed, then 20. Eventually, I got out and crossed the street, keeping my distance. I stepped into the lobby like I was just another guest looking for a room. The hotel had a small restaurant and bar just off to the side, enclosed in glass with low lighting and soft music. That's where I saw her, sitting at a corner table, across from Travis. He was leaning forward, saying something that made her laugh, that same soft laugh I used to hear on quiet mornings over coffee. Her hand rested near his glass, not quite touching, but close, closer than it needed to be. A waitress passed between us. I moved back toward the lobby, hidden behind a potted plant like some cliché, but it didn't matter. I'd seen enough. I didn't need to watch them eat. I didn't need to hear the conversation. They were already speaking a language I understood too well, the language of people who didn't think they were being watched, people comfortable with a secret. I stepped back outside and returned to my car. An hour passed, then another. At one point, they exited through the side door near the valet. Megan's hair was slightly tousled. Her lipstick faded. Travis had his hand on her lower back. They disappeared around the corner. When they returned, it was nearly 10:30. They weren't in a rush, just strolling like a couple at ease with the night. He walked her to her car, said something that made her smile again, then turned and walked back inside. She sat in her car for a minute, staring ahead. Then she pulled out of the lot and drove home. I didn't follow this time. I knew where she was going, and I didn't need to beat her there. I needed time to sit, to breathe, to let the cold truth settle in my chest. When I finally pulled into our driveway, her car was already there. The lights inside the house were off. I walked in quietly, hung up my jacket, and climbed the stairs. She was already in bed, curled up on her side, eyes closed. Or pretending to be. I didn't say anything. I didn't touch her. I just lay down beside her and stared at the ceiling. There was nothing left to guess now. Only decisions to make. The next morning felt like any other. She was already up, humming quietly in the bathroom as she put on makeup. I could hear the soft thump of a brush against her compact, the faint spray of perfume, maybe something floral, something light, something to cover up the night. I stayed in bed longer than usual, staring at the ceiling, watching shadows shift across the walls. The silence between us wasn't new, but now it carried weight. She came into the room a few minutes later, dressed sharp, fitted blazer, blouse tucked in neatly, heels in one hand, coffee in the other. "You sleeping in today?" she asked, smiling like we were fine. "Just taking it slow," I said. She kissed my forehead, just like always. "Wish I could join you." And just like that, she was gone. I stayed in that bed another 15 minutes, thinking about every small thing. The lie she told when she said she was going to meditate. The look on her face when she saw me show up at the office. The smell of that cologne. The hand on her back when they walked out of the hotel. I didn't feel rage. Not the way I thought I might. I felt calm, cold, focused. I got up, made coffee, walked the dog. Everything looked the same, but I knew better. Something had cracked wide open, and now I had a choice. Confront her in the heat of emotion, or wait, and do it my way. I chose silence. That night, she came home like nothing happened, told me about her day, complained about a manager who didn't return emails, talked about the line at the pharmacy, the cashier who was rude for no reason. I nodded, asked follow-up questions, laughed in the right places. She didn't notice the way I watched her, the way I listened. She didn't know I was studying her now, like someone trying to memorize the steps in a dance before stepping into the center of the floor. Later, she curled up beside me on the couch, scrolling through her phone while a movie played we weren't really watching. She rested her head on my shoulder and sighed, like she was tired, like she was safe, and I let her. I let her believe it. That was the hardest part, the pretending. Not because I wanted to scream or break something. I didn't. That's not who I am. But because a part of me, a small and stupid part, still wanted her to tell me the truth without being cornered. She didn't. The next day, same routine. Coffee, work, text about dinner. I asked if she wanted Thai. She said she'd rather cook, trying to be healthier, she said with a wink. She made stir-fry. We drank wine. She laughed at one of my dumb stories from college. She touched my hand when she walked by the table. It was like we were normal, except we weren't, because I wasn't in that scene anymore. I was above it, watching from the rafters, memorizing the script. And underneath the wine and the smiles and the false comfort of routine, I was preparing. Not revenge. Not yet. Just truth. Just clarity. I started looking through my own phone records. Bank charges. Her schedule. Little things. Connecting dots. I wasn't looking to explode. I was looking to be ready. Because when the time came, I didn't want emotion to cloud anything. I wanted to be precise. That weekend, she went to the farmer's market and came back with flowers and a lemon tart. Said she thought of me when she saw it. I thanked her, kissed her cheek, set the tart in the fridge, and made a mental note of what else she brought back. She was overcompensating. She could feel something shift, even if she didn't know what. That was good. Let her feel it. Let her guess. I was done guessing. That night, I lay beside her again. Her breathing was steady, peaceful. I stared at the ceiling, wide awake. Tomorrow, I'd speak. Tomorrow, I'd say exactly what I saw. And after that, we'd see who she really was when the mask came off. I waited until Sunday morning. She was sitting at the kitchen table, hair still damp from the shower, scrolling through her phone with a lazy smile. Sunlight poured through the window behind her, casting a glow on everything, like the universe was trying to make the moment look softer than it was. I poured myself a cup of coffee, sat down across from her, and watched her for a few seconds before I spoke. I saw you, I said. Her thumb froze on the screen. Saw me, Thursday night. You said you were going to meditation. I kept my voice even, calm. But you went to the Halston Hotel. She blinked, once, slowly. I didn't rush her. I let the words hang in the space between us. I saw you with him, Travis. I watched you two at dinner. I saw you leave together. And I waited. I watched you come back 2 hours later. She set her phone down. Her face didn't crumble the way I expected. Instead, her mouth tightened, and her shoulders squared, defensive before remorseful. You followed me? I did. You spied on me? That's what this is now. Her voice was sharp, wounded, like I'd done something wrong. I didn't follow you, I said evenly. I verified. She stood up, pushing her chair back hard. Unbelievable. I can't believe you'd stoop to this. That you'd stalk me. I looked up at her. Is anything I said untrue? That stopped her. Her mouth opened, then closed again. She took a deep breath, turned toward the sink, then back to me. You weren't supposed to know. That was all she said. No denial. No excuses. Just that. I nodded. But I do. She sat back down, slower this time. Her hands were shaking. Just a little. How long have you known? I had suspicions after the box, the Cologne, then the office, then your meditation night. After that, I didn't need any more. Silence settled again. Finally, she whispered. I didn't mean for it to happen. I didn't respond. I just watched her. She looked up at me. It wasn't supposed to be serious. It was just, I don't know. He made me feel important. I finished. She nodded. I took another sip of coffee. How long? A few months, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. It started slow. I thought I could stop it, but you didn't. No. She looked so small then, sitting across from me, the mask finally off. I wanted to tell you, she added. No, you didn't. She didn't argue that. We sat in silence for what felt like hours, but was probably just a minute or two. Then I said what I'd come to say. I'm filing for divorce. Her head jerked up. Wait. There's no wait, I said. There's no fixing this. You lied to me. You betrayed me. And you didn't stop. She blinked hard. But, can't we at least talk about? This is the talk. She leaned forward. I made a mistake. No, I said. You made choices. Repeatedly. You made choices every time you parked your car. Every time you texted him back. Every time you walked through a hotel lobby instead of walking into your own home. She went quiet. I'll stay with my brother for a bit while things get sorted, I said. We'll keep it clean. No screaming. No dragging each other through court. Just the truth. Her eyes filled, but she didn't cry. Not yet. She just sat there, stunned. Like the one thing she hadn't expected was for me to end it. I didn't think you'd find out, she said quietly. I know. I didn't think you'd leave. I looked her dead in the eyes. That's why you don't respect me. She finally cried then, not loudly. Just sat there with her face in her hands, the weight of her own actions finally crashing down. I stood, walked upstairs, and started packing a small bag. Nothing dramatic. Just enough to get through the next few weeks. Toothbrush, clothes, my charger. When I came back down, she was still at the table, staring out the window like the light outside could explain how everything fell apart. I didn't say anything else. I just walked to the door, opened it, and stepped out. I left behind a woman who thought I'd never leave, who believed the lie would hold longer, who assumed my silence meant weakness. She was wrong. I wasn't leaving because I was broken. I was leaving because I was whole enough to walk away. It had been about 2 months since I moved out when I heard what happened. The divorce had gone through quickly, quietly. No drama. No yelling. We didn't even need lawyers at the table. Just signatures, division of property, and a silent walk out of the clerk's office like strangers who had nothing left to say. I stayed with my brother for a while, then got a small apartment on the west side of town. It wasn't much, 2 bedrooms, old carpet, a leaky faucet in the kitchen, but it was mine. Quiet, clean, honest. I didn't hear from Megan after the papers were finalized. No texts. No, how are you? No attempts to explain. Maybe she thought I hated her. Maybe she didn't care. I didn't spend much time wondering. Then, one afternoon, I ran into Lisa, one of Megan's coworkers. We bumped into each other at the grocery store, near the deli counter. I almost walked the other way, but but she saw me first. "Oh, hey," she said, like it was nothing. "I was wondering if I'd run into you." We exchanged the usual small talk. Weather, groceries. She asked how I was doing. I said I was fine. Then, right as we were about to part ways, she hesitated. "I probably shouldn't say this," she started, "but you heard about Travis, right?" I didn't move. "What about him?" She looked at me like she was trying to gauge how much I already knew. "He and Megan aren't together anymore." I just nodded, said nothing. She kept going anyway. "He never wanted anything serious. I mean, everybody kind of knew that. Office flirt. The guy's been through, like, 3 different women in the last year. Megan just thought she was the exception." I raised an eyebrow. "How long did it last?" Lisa shrugged. "Maybe a month after you moved out? Then she stopped coming to work for a while. Said she was taking personal time." I didn't ask for details. Didn't need to. It wasn't hard to imagine how it unraveled. Megan had burned everything down for a man who never wanted to build anything with her. Lisa glanced around like someone might be listening. She looked rough, honestly, like she'd been crying for days. Just kind of hollow. "Nobody really talks to her now. It's awkward." I nodded again. "Thanks for telling me." She gave me a half smile. "You didn't deserve what happened. Everyone could see that." I didn't know what to say to that, so I just said, "Take care," and walked away. Back in my car, I sat for a while before starting the engine. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel vindicated. What I felt was confirmation. Not because she was suffering, but because the truth had played itself out. Without me having to lift a finger, she'd made her choice. And so had he. And now she was left with the reality she created, alone, jobless, reputation in pieces, trust broken. Not because I punished her, not because I made a scene, but because the person she chased didn't care enough to stay. Later that week, I heard through another mutual friend that Megan had moved back in with her mother. She wasn't working. She wasn't going out. Word was, she barely left the house. Depression, someone whispered. A quiet one. The kind that sneaks in after the noise dies down, and there's nothing left but your own reflection. I didn't feel sorry for her, but I didn't hate her either. Hate takes energy. I didn't have any more to give her. She never called, never apologized, never sent a message trying to explain. And maybe that was her pride, or her shame. I didn't know, didn't care. What mattered was that I didn't go looking for revenge. And still, justice showed up. Not with fire and fury, but with silence and distance and time. It's strange how that works. You think you need to scream to be heard, but sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is walk away and let them hear your absence louder than your voice ever could be.